Welcome to the Retro Video Store Podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to the Retro Video Store Podcast. I'm your host, Eric.
Hi, Eric. How are you doing? What is it you come to me today for?
I just came to give you my never-ending support, and may your first child be a masculine child.
I noticed that I brought you here today on the day of my podcast, and that you did not bring your brother-in-law with you. I find this slightly disrespectful.
We sent David. He's in Las Vegas learning the casino business. Much like Fredo, he's the Fredo of this podcast.
I know it was you, David.
You broke my heart.
You broke my heart.
Well, if you have not figured out yet, and you haven't quickly turned the podcast off, we're going to talk about The Godfather today. The Godfather. And before we start recording, I asked Neil what was the over-under on our Don Corleone impersonations for this podcast. And yeah, it's going to be a lot.
I'm not a gambling man, but I do feel that our chances are quite high.
I'm going to blame some people here. So today we're talking about The Godfather. We've taken a short break, 2 weeks to be exact, and it feels kind of weird, man. I didn't realize what how much time I invest in the podcast per week, and when I'm not doing it, I'm just like, man, it's kind of boring. I wish I was doing something for the podcast. I missed it.
On our texts, most of our texts weren't movie related; they were just obscene meme related.
Mm-hmm.
Which is also weird because we're usually, griping and sending stuff out about movies and things like this. So there you have it.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. I did watch a lot of movies and a lot of TV. So let's talk about that. Neil, what did you watch?
Jeez, dude, I could not begin to even try to remember everything that I watched. So just in the last few days, I watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the extended cuts.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Watch those. My wife was the one who put it on, which was a little trippy because that's not something normally that she would watch. So we did that. The Equalizer 3.
Palpable sexual tension between Frodo and Sam.
So, some things got palpated. We watched the Equalizer 3 because that was streaming. And then that led us to go like, well, we need to watch Equalizer 1 and 2. So, we'll watch that.
I hear those are good. I have never watched any of them though.
They are. They're pretty good. I enjoyed them. And dude, like I said, I cannot. It's been like 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like the first week we were decided to take off. I was back home in New Mexico, so I didn't watch a lot. I was out doing a lot of things, but I will say that I did happen to bring back a ton of fresh green chili that was roasted and vacuum packed. My freezer is full. I have a lot of I wish I could remember the name of the company, but they have it in like the little jug with the little handle, the cut green chili. I got probably
that stuff's good too. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I got 5 or 6 of those, and I got one in the fridge, and then I bought 3 boxes of Wex green chili sauce.
Wow.
Yeah, it was like $100-something, but God dang, it's been worth it. I mean, we've been home a week, and I think in a week I've gone through like 4 jars.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just having it on everything.
So you're like Bubba, green chili stew, green chili,
anything
green chili,
I could have green
chops,
chili on.
Green chili enchiladas.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did give one away.
Mm-hmm.
But that was like, dude, this is how much I appreciate you as a person that I'm going to give you this.
Some sacred stash, yeah.
Yeah, I gave it to a buddy,
Mm-hmm.
And then I broke a solemn vow to myself, and I started playing games online with other people because normally, I prefer normally just to play by myself. I play games to get away from people, but a buddy of mine who is in the pipe and drum band that I play in, he really really likes Halo and Call of Duty and all that. And he's like, hey, we should get online and play that. And I'm like, well, yeah, I've got got the Halos. I have the Halos. Oh, I have Halos.
Mm-hmm.
And I got online and I'm like, okay, that was actually kind of fun because you can just rage on there with somebody else and we get along really well. And plus we're blowing off some steam because there was an officer that was killed here in the line of duty.
That's too bad.
And yeah, so we're recording on Sunday. So his funeral is on Wednesday. So we're going to go play for that. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be tough because it's just, you're right up there in front and you get to see everybody who's, the family and stuff. And it's just kind of, it gets rough.
Definitely tough.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're doing everything but talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's kind of what we're doing right now. And I'm looking forward to getting back to work, he says sarcastically, on Monday after taking off for 2 weeks, taking my end of the year vacation. So you said you watched a ton. Mm-hmm. Did you keep track of everything you watched? There's no way I could have done
this
that.
Is really what I these are the few standouts. I did watch some scripted television. I watched the first episode of Invincible, the animated superhero movie, which was the first episode was really, really good. I just haven't had a chance to watch any more of it yet, but I plan to.
I haven't watched the last episode of the second season. I haven't watched yet, and I really like them. It's
pretty interesting, pretty entertaining, very bloody, and kind of hardcore. I watched the Watchmen movie. And really, really enjoyed it. It's been a couple of years since I've watched the Zack Snyder Watchmen, and that's the best thing he's ever done, in my opinion. And it's actually really good, and it actually, in a certain ways, improves on the book. I know Alan Moore will come and stalk me for saying that, and since he hates anything that he didn't authorize, and he took his name off that and the series and stuff. But I like the fact that they made Dr. Manhattan the cause of the catastrophes in the different parts of the world, so it would scare people to unite instead of a giant squid monster type thing like it is in the comic books. And then it made more sense to me, and I thought it was pretty good. Jackie Earl Haley does an amazing job as Rorschach, and that's my favorite part of the movie when he's in prison. And he does really good in that.
Yeah,
then
I enjoyed him. I enjoyed him as a sweat hog. Welcome Back, Kotter.
Was he really in Welcome Back, Kotter?
Oh, that was Horseshack. You said Rorschach.
Rorschach, yes.
That was Horseshack.
I'm going to kill you.
You're locking him with me. That was off the top of my head. Let's have some respect for that.
Kill me, Dr. Manhattan. Man, those are some 70s references, people. We're turning... well, the movies we're doing is from 1972, so that's, it's appropriate. That's in the mindset we're in. Watched the first episode of the Watchmen TV series that came out in 2019. It was really, really, really good. And I have intentions of keep going on with that. There's 9 episodes.
Is that on Max?
Yeah.
Okay.
Really good production values, really good characterization. And it really kind of takes a different spin on these different peripheral kind of like heroes, but in everything in the background is going on with Dr. Manhattan and all that kind of stuff. So far, it's really good, and so I plan on keep watching that. Watch a lot of Godzilla on the Godzilla channel. Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla keeps coming up every time I turn it on, so I'll sit there and watch it until King Caesar shows up and fights, and that's my favorite part. So I watch that a bunch. And I watched the Barbie movie yesterday with my wife, and I enjoyed it. That was pretty good.
I think it's very big of you to actually invite her to watch it with you.
No, she asked me to watch it with her. So it was...
stick to your story, bro. Stick to your story.
What I will say that I enjoyed about it is it had a point of view. They weren't just trying to sell more Barbies. It was kind of a meta commentary on Barbie and all the baggage that she entails as far as the cultural figure and everything like that. I thought it was good. Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach wrote the story, and Margot Robbie did a really good job as she's definitely fits the bill, and she did a really good job. So, yeah. It was woke Hollywood at its biggest.
That's right. It's pushing that agenda. You got to turn in your man card now.
Go woke and go broke, even though it made $1.4 billion at the box office.
That was a good week at the movies, though, man, because I went and watched that with Sammy, and I agree with you. And then we watched Oppenheimer that same week.
Still have not seen that. I know it's streaming, so I'll get to that. I know it looks good, and I do like Christopher Nolan, but I just haven't had a chance to get to it.
It starts and it doesn't stop. There's just all the plot, the dialogue, the Cillian Murphy, if I'm even saying his name right, he did a fantastic job with that. It was a great movie.
So, yeah, definitely going to check it out. But other than that, watch football, college football. College football's coming to a close. National championship is tomorrow. So then I'll have even more free time to watch movies and stuff like that, because the football will be, my Saturdays will be vacated with no college football. So
who's playing for the championship?
It is Washington and Michigan. University of Washington Huskies and the Michigan Wolverines. So I don't want to say, but I have a feeling that Michigan's going to win, but I won't, we'll see.
You just said it.
Yeah, I know. There's my pick, Michigan.
You just threw it right out there.
Yeah.
So when they lose, it's your fault. You jinxed
Yes, exactly. I jinxed them. Yeah, I didn't want to jinx them, but
congratulations for ruining for those young men. Selfish bastard.
So let's go back in time and talk about a 52-year-old movie, which is, I'm going to say it right now, fucking amazing. Still amazing.
This movie was released 3 months before I was born.
Oh, really?
Almost to the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thanks for pointing out that it's 52 years old, jackass.
Yeah. This movie, I love it. It's one of those movies that is so culturally significant that it's just soaked up everywhere. There's references to it in almost everything. It is just there was like movies before The Godfather, then movies after. And I was listening to a podcast, Rewatchables, talked about the Godfather, and one of the I think it was Bill Simmons, one of the main hosts, was talking about how this is the first modern movie, or it really feels like the first movie that had kind of a combination of like indie sensibilities as far as like really good actors, the writing and everything else just kind of mixed together to make something that does, change movies altogether.
I think for me, the one major standout with this film, put aside, the stellar cast, the acting, completely insane Marlon Brando. If we put all that aside, there's one thing that the movie didn't have, I think, that really, really made it the cultural icon that it is. And that is Sofia Coppola.
Oh, yeah. Well, she was in the movie. She was the baby at the baptism.
Like I'm saying.
Yeah, I felt bad for her. She was in Godfather 3, and she was kind of put in a bad position because Winona Ryder was originally going to be that character, and then she got sick or something was going on, and then she jumped in. But Sofia Coppola has turned out to be a pretty good director. She's very niche in her indie sensibilities, but she's gone on to make a name for herself beyond her father. And Francis Ford Coppola is an interesting guy. He is in love with himself a lot. If you listen to interviews with him, and he knows he's good, but it's funny how bad a businessman he is. Like, he's gone broke many, many times. And, I think he just recently sold the wine, the Coppola family wine or whatever that he does. And, I used to buy just because it said Francis Ford Coppola. I'm not a wine person. I never thought it was that great because I don't really have that palate for wine. I'm immature. I'm not mature enough to drink wine.
I don't get how people drink it at a meal, because but I guess that maybe that's just me, because I had surgery and I don't have many of my salivary glands anymore. So when I drink, I'm like a raccoon. So if someone puts down wine in front of me at dinner, there's no way I'm chasing back all my food with just wine. I can't do it. It's one of those things, like, I'll have a little bit if somebody offers it, but it's not my favorite. So I agree with you there. I enjoy this, however. This is delicious. he says, shaking around his beverage of choice right now.
I will say that this movie makes food look fantastic. You immediately want to have some spaghetti or Chinese food or some gabagool. This movie.
You get the sandwich.
The sandwich. Yeah, this movie it is a good food movie. There's just just when they're eating or the things that they do, it just makes everything look good. Smoking. There's so much smoking in this movie. Holy shit! An insane amount of smoking. And wine. There is wine everywhere in this movie. Tons of it. But let's start this officially. You want to hit us with the Internet Movie Database tagline?
Sure. Don Vito Corleone. You're gonna say it like that because that was the way they said it in the movie. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna do it again just to let you hear that in my dulcet tones. Don Vito Corleone, head of a mafia family, decides to hand over his empire to his youngest son, Michael. However, his decision unintentionally puts the lives of his loved ones in grave danger.
This is the worst tagline ever. That's not anything what the movie's about. I mean, in an offhand way it is, but no.
I never wanted this for you.
Yes. Senator Corleone.
So, doctor, lawyer, I never wanted this life for you. But I put you in it anyway, so better do a fucking good job.
Better do a good job. So, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, and this movie is, we have already said it once, I'm going to say it again, it's amazing. Coppola really has an unusual filmography, some really, really good stuff. He started out with Dementia 13, which is a Roger Corman horror movie that he just kind of thought up and shot for really, really, really cheap. Finian's Rainbow, I've never heard of that. And then he did a movie called The Rain People. No idea. Then he did The Godfather, The Conversation, which I hear is really, really good. I have not watched that. He did that in between The Godfather and Godfather Part 2. Long break with Apocalypse Now in 1979, which is a good movie. It's a crazy movie. Marlon Brando is just nuts in this one. And I have the extended edition, the Apocalypse Now Redux. Do not watch it. Too damn long. All the stuff they added adds nothing to the movie. Just watch the regular Apocalypse Now. One from the Heart, which has Tom Waits. And it's just a unusual movie. The Outsiders, pretty good movie. Rumblefish, The Cotton Club, which is a good movie, but was a huge failure. Captain EO, which I've never seen, where it was a Disney movie for the theme parks from 86 till 98. And it always reminds me when I see Captain EO, there's a little Family Guy thing where this whole group of people are watching Captain EO and they're looking and they go, man, Michael Jackson looks so real. Then Michael Jackson jumps off the screen, grabs a kid, then runs away. So dumb. Yeah.
I actually saw Captain EO at Disneyland before it went away.
How was it?
Yeah, it insisted upon itself.
Peggy Sue Got Married, which is a pretty good movie. Gardens of Stone, never saw it. Tucker, A Man in His Dreams, saw that. It was all right. New York Stories, that was him and Scorsese and Woody Allen doing three short pieces in a movie. Never saw it. Godfather Part 3, which was a disappointment. Bram Stoker's Dracula, which you've done an episode on, that's pretty good. Jack, that's the one where Robin Williams plays a adult with the brain of a kid or something. I don't know, something. Boy who ages 4 times faster than normal. All right. The Rainmaker, Youth Without Youth. Youth Without Youth. He won an Oscar for writing Patton in 1970, so that kind of gave him the bona fides to direct. They kept him on as a director for The Godfather. He almost got fired so many times during the making of the movie, but he won the Oscar, and that kind of gave him a little bit of insurance. And yeah, there's actually a movie on Paramount Plus. It's about the making of The Godfather. It was made 2 or 3 years ago, and it looks pretty interesting, but I haven't had a chance to watch it. But it's just a movie about the making of the movie.
I am honestly surprised you haven't watched it.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I watched a shit load of supplementary material and analysis and video essays and all this kind of stuff on the movie. And there is so much out there about people analyzing this movie. I mean, it is like probably one of the most studied movies of all time. I did read the book probably when I was like 15 or 16, and it was very like a very pulpy type book. It was very salacious, and it was mostly about they talked about Sonny's gigantic wang, and all these different, it was very more like a pulp novel versus how they refined it into something bigger in the movie. Not Sonny's wang, but the story.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. You knew exactly what I was going to call you on as soon as you said that.
You had a glint in your eyes, and I'm like, oh, well, yeah, he's going to. So there's a lot of video of footage of Coppola, like the night after shooting, typing up the next day's stuff, like refining it and changing dialogue and doing all this stuff almost every night, and handing out revisions in the morning for people to do when they shot the movie. And even Diane Keaton thought it was going to be the worst movie ever made because they didn't really know, it was such a haphazard shoot that they couldn't really visualize or understand how it was going to get put together finally after all the stuff they had shot. The score is iconic, obviously. Cinematography by Gordon Willis, the Prince of Darkness, and his cinematography is amazing. It is so good. He did quite a bit of movies, did a lot of collaborations with Coppola and Woody Allen, Hal Ashby, The Landlord, Clute, Bad Company, The Godfather, Paper Chase, Parallax View, Drowning Pool, all the big Woody Allen and Annie Hall, Interiors, Manhattan, Stardust Memories, Pennies from Heaven. Yeah, he did a lot of those. And his cinematography is amazing. I mean, it's just there's tons of like little video essays about how, certain people at the beginning, the lighting of Michael's face is full. I mean, you can see his face fully, and as he gets more and more into in the underworld and becomes a boss, you see the darkness, the shadows on his face, and that's definitely true at the end when he comes for Carlo. He basically dissolves out of the out of the darkness at the end to talk to Carlo. So, yeah. When did you first see the movie, Neil?
I think I first saw this in probably junior high. Rented it. I'd seen the book. What was that bookstore in the mall, which I can't think of the name of.
Walden Books?
Was it Walden Books? You went right down the stairs. It was right there. It was right near the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
Was that Walden?
I think it was Walden Books, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I'd seen it at Walden Books before. And when we were looking around to get some stuff, I think my parents were out of town. The guy at the video place was like, "Oh, you should see this." And, and of course, it was a long-ass movie. It came on 2 cassettes. And watched it and was pretty impressed with it. I'd never seen anything like it at the time. But it's not a movie I've watched a lot. I think I probably watched it again maybe in college. And this is, I think, maybe the 4th or 5th time I've actually seen it. And it's so damn memorable. It was one of those things, like as I'm watching it, I'm like, did I really need to watch this? Because I remembered every scene.
Yeah. I mean, that's really a testament how well written it is, because you can almost think about it. And it's very episodic, especially the first hour is, you're going from, point to point with like the wedding, and then the trip to Hollywood, and then the meeting with not technically, it was a Salazzo and stuff. It's kind of episodic. I first saw it when I was like 13. I think it was like a snowy day. It was on HBO, and it was one of those days one of the rare days we just chilled out, and we all sit down and we all watched. We all we all sit around and watch The Godfather.
What the listeners don't see is the shocked look on my face. Knowing your mom, that you had a day off of not really cleaning the house or doing anything. That's crazy.
And because she loved the movie, and and my stepdad loved it. I remember my dad really enjoying it, and I knew it was a classic based on reputation. So I was like 13 when I first saw it, and then it became like a comfort food movie for me. It would always be on HBO, or we'd record it, and then it would just be on in the background or something. Just you kind of, I've watched it dozens of times over my life, and I like Godfather 2 quite a bit. And some people think it's a better movie than Godfather. I don't think it is, because The Godfather is a more fun watch, where maybe The Godfather 2 is more heady as far as like the themes and the way they pull off and everything like that. But this one's just more fun. It's more fun to watch, and it's more entertaining, where Godfather 2 is really good, but it's a bummer. I feel like it's kind of a depressing watch. Still awesome though.
So I do want to explain to everybody, all 4 listeners, that the reason why I'm so surprised by this is that your home as a kid rivaled like a microchip clean room.
Mm-hmm.
And that was mainly due to your efforts.
Yes, Mom was very obsessed with clean house.
Yes.
She was like Mommy Dearest. We called her Mommy Dearest because that movie was almost autobiographical.
I do remember your sister getting yelled at for hanging up clothes the wrong direction, because they had to go a specific way.
Yeah. So
yeah. I told my parents about that. My parents were like, maybe that's a good idea. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. What did I just say?
So released March 24th, 1972. Budget was $7.2 million and would made $291 million worldwide. And I think this is accumulation of all the releases during its time, because I think it made like over $100 million in 1972, but it has been released over and over again over the years. But even back then, over $100 million in 1972 dollars, that's a hell of an achievement. Because tickets were like $2 or $3. They were like $12 like they are now today.
That's why you go see the early morning movies on Sundays. Pro tip, kids.
Mm-hmm.
Pro tip: go watch it on Sundays. Okay, enough about that. Just read the cast, because the cast alone, you see them in your head. You know who it is, but when you look at the list, that's the impressive bit.
Yeah, Marlon Brando is Vito Corleone, and I don't see Marlon Brando in this. I mean, it's Vito Corleone. That's the Godfather. The character is so strong that I don't see Brando. I just see the character. And what is crazy is Marlon Brando was 48 years old when he filmed this movie. So the makeup effects were, the aging makeup effects are really, really good. I think it was Dick Smith.
Who?
One of the best makeup artists of all time.
Who?
Dick Smith. He was an amazing makeup effects man.
Bob Smith, you said? Bob Smith,
no,
you
Dick.
said? Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he did what's the movie with Dustin Hoffman where he's super, super old, like Little Big Man or a little something. I don't know. One of those movies. He did the old age makeup for that. And of course he did The Exorcist, and just so many amazing movies. Altered States. He's responsible for, for this movie making Brando look old. So he did a hell of a job. Just think about how Max von Sydow in The Exorcist, how we thought he was like 70-something year old, and he was only, in his 40s. So he pioneered that old age makeup big time.
Yeah, and that was Little Big Man, because that was like 1970.
Mm-hmm. So Marlon Brando, Al Pacino is Michael Corleone, James Caan is Santino Sonny, Robert Duvall is Tom Hagen, John Cazale is Fredo. John Cazale it's kind of a sad story where he made some amazing movies, and then he got cancer and he died. He did like The Godfather, Dog Day Afternoon, and The Deer Hunter. Like 3 amazing, iconic 70s movies, and then he got cancer and he died. And you can imagine what he could have done or what more he could have done. Talia Shire was actually related to Francis Ford Coppola. I think she's his niece. And then she's Connie. Diane Keaton is Kay Adams. Abe Vigoda is Salvatore Tessio. And
Fish.
Richard.
Fish.
Mm-hmm.
That's Fish.
I never was a big Barney Miller fan, so I didn't really relate to him. Yeah. Always see him as Tessio.
Some of us did not grow up with cable, and we watched a lot of late night network TV. So there was always Barney Miller on.
Mm-hmm. And Richard Castellano as Pete Clemenza. And he's one of the most memorable characters in the movie. And he didn't return for Godfather 2. There's two different stories. One is that he wanted too much money and he wanted to write his own lines. Or two, Pentangeles, the guy who's like the traitor in Godfather 2 that turns government informant on Corleone, was supposed to be Clemenza. But he didn't want to be a traitor in the movie, so he opted out. So it just depends on who's telling the story. Castellano said he didn't want to be a traitor, and Francis Ford Coppola said he wanted too much money. He wanted to write his own lines. There's probably a little bit of a mixture of truth in both of the stories.
More wine. Go get more wine.
Yes.
You're looking good out there dancing.
Polly, more wine. You want to hit us with the critical consensus? I pared it down a little bit from what it was. It was just a monolith of writing, as I kind of trimmed it down.
Yeah, I can't imagine that it would be that you really struggled to find something on this film. So The Godfather has received overwhelming critical acclaim and is seen as one of the greatest and most influential films of all time, particularly of the gangster genre. On review, Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an approval rating of 97% based on 151 reviews, with 3% of the people having been blind, deaf, and dumb.
Now, who decides to be a contrarian and say, it's not that good of a movie?
Okay, well, I will admit I effed with you a little bit.
Yeah, when you sent me a text going, "Wow, that movie is," would you say he said something like overblown or something? And I was like, "What?"
Yeah, I know. As soon as I sent that, my wife's like, "Who are you texting?" Eric. Like, "Oh, what are you and Eric talking about?" So I told her, and she's like, "Oh my god!" And then you just were like, "Text." And we were driving, and my wife was like, "You're such a dick." It's like we've known each other a long time. He'll get it. But yeah, 97%. That was very bizarre. Have an average rating of 9.4 out of 10. The website's critical consensus reads, one of Hollywood's greatest critical and commercial successes, The Godfather gets everything right. Not only did the movie transcend expectations, it established new benchmarks for American cinema. Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, has assigned the film a score of 100 out of 100 based on 16 critic reviews.
I've never seen 100 out of 100 on Metacritic.
On Metacritic, yeah.
Yeah.
Indicating universal acclaim. On PhilWeb, a Polish review site, it received an 8.9 out of 10. 8.9 out of 10 based on 35 critic reviews. Make your own Polish jokes right there. Roger Ebert of the
something
Chicago...
about screen doors on submarines or something.
Heard quite a few of those as a kid.
I know. What was that? Why was that a genre of joke? I never understood that.
I don't know. So I got that my grandfather, whenever he would make a joke, being a World War II vet, he would always make it about Germans.
Mm-hmm.
Always make it about Germans. And then my dad, grew up as, the child of that generation. But my dad's dad didn't go to war. But my dad was always with those jokes. Always.
The weird thing I remember we've talked about this before, if you get the truly tasteless joke book, there's always a section of Polish jokes.
Yeah.
And there was always a section of dead baby jokes.
Yeah. I told you how to make a dead baby float.
You take 2 scoops of ice cream.
To scoop of ice cream, scoop a dead baby, and some root beer. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Come on now.
I can keep going.
Yeah, there's a few. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times praised Coppola's efforts to follow the storyline of the novel, the choice to set the film in the same time as the novel, and the film's ability to absorb the viewer over its 3-hour runtime. Ebert named The Godfather the best film of 1972. I even got my kid to watch this with me.
Oh, really?
He sat for the whole thing.
Yeah, Andrew watched it with me as well. You think you liked it as well?
We started talking about how this kind of set the tone. I think without this, Martin Scorsese would not have a career.
Yeah, there was no Goodfellas, or I mean, I think Mean Streets may have came out before The Godfather, but let me check on that. 73. Nope, Godfather came a year before.
Okay. So the Chicago Tribune's Gene Siskel, since we talked about Ebert, we got to talk about Siskel, gave the film 4 out of 4, commenting that it was very good. Wow.
Thanks, Gene.
Hemingway-esque with that. Very good. The Village Voices, Andrew Saris, believed Brando portrayed Vito Corleone well and that his character dominated each scene it appeared in, but felt Puzo and Coppola had the character of Michael Corleone too focused on revenge. In addition, Saris stated that Richard Castellano, Robert Duvall, and James Caan were good in their respective roles. Pauline Kael of The New Yorker wrote, "If ever there was a great example of how the best popular movies come out of a merger of commerce and art, The Godfather is it."
High praise from Pauline Kael.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a shock. Desson Howe of the Washington Post called the film a jewel and wrote that Coppola deserves most of the credit for the film. Writing for the New York Times, Vincent Canby felt that Coppola had created one of the most brutal and moving chronicles of American life and went on to say that it transcends its immediate milieu and genre. Why do you got to throw in French?
Pretentious.
Yeah. Director Stanley Kubrick thought the film had the best cast ever and could be the best movie ever made. Director Steven Spielberg listed it among his favorite films. Stanley Kaufman of the New Republic wrote negatively of the film in a contemporary review, claiming that Pacino rattles around in a part too demanding for him, while also criticizing Brando's makeup and wrote a score.
Bullshit. That is like the worst take ever.
So yeah, Stanley's got a bone to pick. He just wants to be edgy. Previous Mafia films had looked at the gangs from the perspective of an outraged outsider. In contrast, The Godfather presents the gang's perspective of the Mafia as a response to corrupt society. Although the Corleone family is presented as immensely rich and powerful, no scenes depict prostitution, gambling, loan sharking, or other forms of racketeering. George DeStefano argued that the setting of a criminal counterculture allows for unapologetic gender stereotyping, such as when Vito tells a weepy Johnny Fontaine to act like a man, and is an important part of the film's appeal. Remarking on the 40th, it's almost like these people are shocked that there are people that talk like that.
I know. Yeah, exactly.
How many times as a kid growing up in the 70s were you told to man up?
Oh, exactly, all the time. And what's the Godfather?
And this isn't even the 70s. This is supposed
Let
to
me
be
tell
like
you,
46.
I think you should really work on your feelings. And I'm going to get you a counselor and our early intervention program with the Mafia's EAP program.
I understand that you're upset by this, and I appreciate you coming to me to tell me about this and express your feelings in such a healthy way. Coming all the way here because I have created a safe space for you to do so as your godfather.
It's come on. Oh, sorry. Very, very frustrating. It's stuff like that I just find kind of irritating.
Yeah.
Because the point, I'm going to go off. The point of a movie is to tell something from a certain point of view.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I really enjoy now that we have filmmakers from various backgrounds making films.
Yeah. Telling stories that we've never seen before.
Because telling stories as a middle-aged white dude that I might not get to. And I think my first real look into this was like Alex Haley when I was a kid in the 70s with Roots.
Yeah.
And then getting introduced to Toni Morrison, who is an incredible writer, and then taking and adapting her stuff. And then now we've got cinema. We're getting cinema from all over the world and all of these other things. And we're getting to see how their worldview and how they view themselves. So, excuse me, Mr. Worried about a weepy Johnny Fontaine, shut the fuck up.
Well, I'm going to go on a digression here as well. I
didn't, so you may as well.
I started watching Ingmar Bergman's Scenes from a Marriage the other day because I was like, I want to watch a kind of a classic art movie, and it just did not speak to me because I'm not a middle class Swedish person in the 70s. It was all about this existential angst and this marriage, and and part of it is universal. The marriage, some of the parts of the marriage is universal, but part of it was like 3 hours long, and I just couldn't get into it. I could see the art, and I could see that it was important.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that there was a message and stuff like that, but I just couldn't get into it enough to qualify my time. So I turned it off.
I've never made it through that film. Never made it.
But
through.
It didn't make me think the movie was awful. It just wasn't made for me. I'm just not, so perfectly. I'm sure somebody out there really enjoys it. But it was just wasn't made for me, but I turned it off. But that's what you can do when you have Max and all that kind of stuff like that. If you don't like the movie, you can turn it off.
Switch it off. I don't know. Maybe I just find that kind of annoying because my wife works in a field that stereotypically is very male dominant, and I work in a field that is stereotypically very female dominant, and I can't stand that whole bit of stereotyping around that.
Mm-hmm.
I just, because I don't get it, but I guess I don't know. It's just hard to say because I want to know other people's opinions, even if they're wrong. Oh, let me say, I said that the wrong way. Even if they're different from mine. I kind of want to hear it. I really want to hear where people are from. And that's the kind of the cool thing about watching a movie like this that's trying to capture, even if it's not completely realistic, to capture that to capture that group of people. The whole idea of the giant nuclear Italian family and all these friends and like that. We've talked about it before, like that East Coast neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Kind of feel that we never grew up with.
Oh yeah, we grew in a rural New Mexico. Everybody was very far apart. And next week we're going to talk about Goodfellas. Goodfellas is equally a good movie about the mafia as Godfather, but it is a non-romanticized version of that life. And this is definitely a very auteur look at the material, and it's fucking done amazingly. Do you want to read the last little part?
Yeah, if you're done crying about it and you want to act like a man.
Act like a man.
All right. Remarking on the 40th anniversary of the film's release, film critic John hard-to-pronounce last name praised The Godfather as arguably the great American work of popular art and the summa of all great movie-making before it. 2 years before, Roger Ebert had written in his journal that it comes closest to being a film everyone agrees is unquestionably great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great it's a great movie, and a lot of it is like I didn't really watch it again to make notes because just like you when you're saying, it's like, do I really need to watch this movie because it's so indelibly, in your head you can think about the movie almost exactly in order and how things go. But it does start with one of the greatest, like little opening pieces where the funeral director talks about, I believe in America. And it pulls out the subtle pulling out of the camera and until you see the Don, his shoulders, and just explaining him why this is happening. And, the first 26 minutes, which is the wedding part, does such a good job in just setting up the world and who everybody is, what the rules are, what the code of ethics and all this kind of stuff in just 26 minutes. It's perfect. It sets everything up. And nobody held the cat as cool as
Okay, good. That was exactly where I was going to go. Okay. All right. My wife has cats.
Mm-hmm.
The cats don't care to be held and played with. They're just like, I'm cold, you're warm, I'm going to sit on you, and you have no choice. That cat seemed genuinely happy to be there with Marlon Brando.
Yeah, and they said it was a cat that was just on the lot that Brando picked up, and they thought it would be cool to use him, use it in the scene. And the cat was so compliant, and it just makes everything so memorable. Just something like that he's so fucking cool. He can hear this guy's problem and just be a boss, listen, and just play with this cat. It's just amazing. Just a really cool scene. Yeah, the wedding is really, really cool. You get to see everybody's personality. Sonny's the hothead who's on the prowl all the time. Fredo is drunk and kind of trying to put the moves on Kay when he when he meets her. He's the dullard. Tom is the is the concierge, and also kind of he's never going to be treated as well because he is the adopted son, and you can see that in his expressions, his line delivery, and every the way he acts. He wants to be considered as equals, but nobody treats him like that. Poor guy.
Well, and it even gets dropped once or twice whenever Sonny is potentially going to be the head of the family.
Yeah,
I just thought it was really interesting that everybody is just going out of their way and, being very out there, being very verbose, being very stereotype. Well, I mean, how we would stereotype if we were going to stereotype Italian people in a movie now. Mm-hmm. True or not, I don't know. I've never been in an Italian neighborhood like that. Although my wife's family lived in New Jersey for a bit. She was born in New Jersey. Her brother's name is Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently that was a lot like what the neighbor. No, not Anthony. Anthony. No H. And them saying that, the neighborhood was a lot like that. But him just coming in as a character, just very cool, very reserved, very matter of fact. Like he didn't lie. He didn't lie to her, not one time. But he would just tell her enough, and he never omitted anything. But he was very, very straightforward. And that was the one thing I enjoyed about this watch through, is I'd never really paid attention. I'd watched the movie as a story. I never watched it for characters. And watching as a character, I found him really interesting to see how he progressed and changed. He's the one that didn't.
Same here. I watched Michael change from, the guy who's on the outside, war hero and everything like that, and how subtly it changes from him to be the guy on the outside to being the boss.
Yeah.
In a short amount of time. It's just what's done so well.
And how much like his dad he is.
Yeah.
Because he sits and he listens and he watches.
I always felt like, the brothers have all the qualities that the Don has, but just separate. Like Fredo is, kind and kind of sweet. Sonny's a hothead and has that kind of like forcefulness. And Michael is that cool tactician, but he lacks that kind of like warmth that the Godfather has. So they're like splintered up the personality of the Don. I always kind of thought that, in my analysis of the movie. Like each three had something that the Don had, but not the whole, where Michael had that cool tactician side.
It's the Mafia Trinity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's done, but it's done so well. Just the way everything's announced, no Sicilian can refuse a request on his daughter's wedding day. And one thing I always thought was just fucking cool as hell is when Sonny sees the cameraman, smashes the camera, and then he just, drops two bills.
Yeah,
on the ground like it was nothing.
Flips the bills down. I really like that without even seeming to give it a second thought. When he smashes it down, when the guy looks at it, the other guy gives it another kick. Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Nothing.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I guess Johnny Fontaine, Sinatra read too much into it, like that he was supposed to be the Fontaine character is based on him, and he got really pissed at Mario Puzo and stuff. But it's kind of an amalgamation of that kind of entertainer there. But it is, you can tell there is some Sinatra in there. Whenever I think about Frank Sinatra, I always think of Phil Hartman on Saturday Night Live when he's has Sting and Sinead O'Connor and Luther Campbell on the show or whatever, and Mike Myers is Stephen Eady, there's Eady Gourmet and
Cyanide.
Hey, I got chunks of guys like you in my stool. Steve, go beat him up.
Oh, my favorite one is Joe Piscopo and Eddie Murphy. I am black and you are white.
Yeah.
You are blind as a bat and I have sight.
So, but everything is set up so well because you see the Godfather and in his interactions with everybody who's coming up and asking him for favors and stuff like that, he seems very kind. But then you hear Michael tell the story about, how he got Johnny Fontaine out of his contract. So either your signature or your brains are going to be on with this contract. You realize that the level of what he could do if he wanted to, but he doesn't really have to anymore.
And he's super straight with her.
Yeah. This is my family, Kay. I'm not, this is not me. But yeah.
But at that point, that was the interesting bit, is that his family is important. He's not going to hide who they are. He's like, I like you. I'm going to tell you exactly what my family's about, just to let you know.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's the first 26 minutes are the wedding, but it's done in a really good way. Another movie that starts with a wedding but doesn't do it as great is The Deer Hunter. You feel like you're at actual wedding, like a 3-hour wedding. It drags on for so long, so indulgent. And I love The Deer Hunter. I love, I think it's better than the ending, and everything it means is better than the actual trip there.
How many deer actually got hunted in that movie?
A couple.
Okay.
At the beginning, they go and they shoot. They're like Robert De Niro's character never misses, but when he comes back from Vietnam, he doesn't have the same killer instinct to hunt deer when he comes back from Vietnam and stuff. It's a good movie, but yeah, it's that to me is the artist really showing and spreading their wings and showing a good, how they can do it in The Godfather. But then it got really, really, really overindulgent as the 70s continued. And the 70s had some of the greatest movies of all time. But then you get like Heaven's Gate and The Deer Hunter, and you get some of these movies that are they're up their own ass too much, where it gets, they're still worth watching, but a lot of them are like, ugh, you could have cut, an hour out of that movie. Be all right.
All right. So we're 51 minutes in, and we haven't even got past the first half hour of the film.
Well, I think we should.
Do you want to hit some highlights?
Let's hit the
highlights.
Yes, personal highlights. I love the character of Jack Waltz, the way he talks. You cannot afford to look ridiculous.
I loved Luca Brasi.
Yeah, Luca Brasi was fucking amazing. On the day of your daughter's wedding,
and they made him out to be like, he's not the brightest guy, but apparently he's just ruthless and very, very loyal.
Yeah, he's the guy you wanted in your corner if you wanted to get shit done.
Yeah, and they knew that, and that's why they take him out. Mm-hmm. And I just remember watching that. Every time I see somebody get choked to death in a movie, that always gets me, because, in my former hobby, which I don't do anymore, there was a lot of people choking you unconscious or trying to choke you unconscious. And I feel that on a deep gut level.
Well, that was always a surprise. And you knew, Sollozzo, the meeting with Sollozzo, how it went, you could tell that Sonny was into it or whatever, and they decided to take out the Don and do an assassination attempt. But once they took out Luca Brasi, you knew that, this was dangerous, that they could actually try to take the Don out. And the guy who played Sollozzo did a really, really, really good job. I'm the hunted one, no. Just, yeah. The line readings are so fucking perfect in this. And I did a research on who the 5 families are. There's the Corleones, the Tattaglia, Barzini, Cuneo, Stracci. Those are the heads of those families. I guess there's a really good Godfather video game where you have to be like, be the boss and take out it came out a couple of years ago for I think PlayStation 4, but I heard it's pretty good. This is The Godfather.
Oh, you can get it for Xbox. It's Xbox 360. They have The Godfather 2 for PC. 2006 video game, an open world action adventure game played from a third-person perspective in which the player controls protagonist Aldo Trapani as he ascends the criminal underworld.
Actually sounds
now we
fun.
know. It does a little bit.
Yeah.
It does just a little bit. A little bit. It sounds like a little bit. I like that. Almost. What sounds pretty good right now? Some gabagool.
Gabagool. I got you some sandwiches, some gabagool.
When he threw him the gabagool sandwich, that just took it off for me. Oh God, what was the one where just playing the long game to get the guys that were like messing with them, but when the husband Carlo, was it Carlo?
Yeah, Carlo.
Yeah, Carlo. my son, it's like, I got to go to the bathroom. My son's like, do you want me to pause it? I'm like, no, I know what happens. And he comes out, he goes, Dad, that was a pretty cold-blooded scene. I'm like, oh, well, which one? He's like, oh yeah. He's like leave the gun, but take the cannolis. Dad, that was something else.
Well, that was what's his name? Paulie. Paulie's was the guard that gave up.
So that was when they got Paulie for that one.
Yes, when they got Paulie. Yeah, leave the gun, take the cannoli. Where Carlo cold-bloodedly set up Sonny by beating up Connie, and then knowing that he'd be pissed off and heading over to his house and gets killed on the causeway, which was just some really good blood squibs when they shot James Caan, and then the guy just kicks him in the face afterwards. But that was some good 70s blood squibs. That was some good stuff. One thing I really like, and we'll go back to the cinematography, is everything almost looks like a painting like that. There's that scene, speaking of leave the gun, take the cannoli, just that shot of the car parked in the field with the super tall, grass, and you see the Statue of Liberty off in the distance, and it looks such like a really good setup, and just so many different moments in the movie. You could just take that screenshot and go, looks like a painting, and just the lighting and everything is done so well. And I think this is the first movie that I was really ever cognizant about that kind of the style that went into it. I was 13, I guess, and I just thought about movies as well, that's good entertainment or whatever. And then you're like, wow, somebody wrote this, somebody came up with all this, and just it was it was so serious where it wasn't just an entertainment to me. I guess it was bigger than that. And when the poor Don gets shot, how worthless Fredo is.
He's doing a circus act. Watch me keep the gun in the air.
Yeah, Fredo.
Oh, and the poor baker just out there pooping his pants in front of the hospital.
Yeah, but Enzo the baker, he helped out, but I'm sure he probably got recognized by the Corleone family for stepping up like that. When all the guards are gone. I always felt bad for Michael that his face is all jacked up after McCluskey punches him.
No one broke his jaw, and he's
broke his
talking
jaw,
talking through his teeth.
I want you to use all your skills and powers.
Look how they massacred my boy. Going back to that, I do like Cooking with Clemenza. If that was a show on the Food Network, I would watch that. Him just feeding 20 guys.
Then you add your sausage, you add your peppers.
Yeah. You add a little bit of sugar, there's some wine. That's my trick. Yeah, just this movie made me want spaghetti. And I don't want to sound racist, but it made me want spaghetti.
I had Italian food before we got on.
Yeah, it's just, they're just, There's that part where, sorry, go ahead.
No, we ordered in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, there's that part where after Michael kills McCluskey and Sollozzo, there's that montage of all the stuff that's going on because, Michael's in Sicily and the war is happening between all the 5 families and stuff. And you see him going on, and there's a scene where some guy's just dumping out this just gigantic bowl of spaghetti into the trash, but George Lucas edited that scene. It helped Coppola because Coppola helped finance THX one whatever it is, the THX movie.
Yeah, the audience is deaf. Yes,
yeah.
THX.
He helped finance that movie, and he's he helped edit that scene for Coppola, and I think that's pretty effective. I did like the movie. Kind of drags when Michael's in Sicily, but I understand why he's going to be there. He's got to get in touch with his roots and understand the importance of the family and everything like that. And then he's got to get a side piece or main piece because basically Kay's out of the picture. Apollonia.
I want you to translate for me. Those guys nope, we're getting out of here.
Then he decides to pull the the power move. It's you would gain a husband or whatever, and yeah, just to go in old school with all the traditional courting and that kind of stuff. I think it's really good, but then you really see the reach when after Sonny gets killed that they blow up the car and poor Apollonia bites it. Yeah. She just didn't understand the magnitude of what was going on. Apollonia.
She's going to make you a great American wife.
Yes, that made me laugh. The meeting of the five families is pretty cool. That's when you see Don kind of like show his intensity one more time before, kind of fading into the background when Michael takes over the family. I did. I just love this movie all the way, but I like the Don when the meeting's over. He's like, I knew it was Barzini all along. I think about that all the time. It fits in the head. I know it was Barzini. There's so many things that I think about in the movie in my daily life. Fredo going to Nevada and just partying it up, and Mo Green having to slap him around. You slap around my brother.
And then how about Michael's enforcer?
Well, Al Neri, yes.
Oh, you got Al Neri in here?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He just kind of shows up. You don't really know what he who he is, but he's the guy in the red suit that is Michael's henchman. And I guess in the book, and I don't remember it at all because I googled, what's Al Neri's story, and he used to be an ex-cop that somehow the Corleones defended, or they got him out on this thing that they thought he was wrongfully accused from, and then he quit being a cop and started working for Michael and became his henchman. But he looks pretty cold. He's like the Boba Fett of the of the Godfather to me. Yeah. He's just like this guy. Who's this dude? What's his story? What's he doing?
Yeah, this was why it was really interesting to watch with my son, because like when he's getting ready, and my son is not raised on movies that develop quite like this, and he's like, what is he gonna do? And he goes, that guy's a cop. And then when he offs him, when he offs Barzini, he's like, oh, I get it. Yeah, he was remembering faces. He had a really difficult time trying to remember the names, though.
There's so many characters, though. It's tough for, I've watched it dozens of times, so it's like I know it like the back of my hand. But when you first watch it, there is a lot to digest with the different people and the characters, lots of faces, lots of settings, lots of things to really digest and what's going on. But Michael was cold AF when he brought all that down, when he settled all the business. You just can't get any cooler than that with the baptism scene and everybody getting offed at the same time. And it was just cool as hell. And just the way it went down and the way he captured that person in between the rotating door, the revolving door, and shot him. And it was just awesome. And then using the shotgun while they're in the elevator and blast them.
Elevator, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the first time seeing that, like, are we going to watch this guy have a heart attack? Like, what is the point of this? Why are we watching? Like, this guy's a little bit on the large side. It was just really interesting because that, again, you watching his character development, like he just consolidated power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He made sure that there was no weakness. Like there was all this stuff that had happened. He wrapped it all up to basically show he was not someone to be effed with.
Yeah, because who's going to fuck with him now after he killed all the heads of the five families in one fatal swoop? That just shows that exactly. Put himself in a position, like you said, that nobody wants to f with him, and then picking up stakes and moving to Nevada and get in the casino business. But I really like. He convinces. Well, like first I like when Tessio, they figure out that he's been caught being the rat. Because the first guy comes to you the meeting, he's the traitor, and it was Tessio, and Tessio's like, "Could you get me off the hook one for old time's sake?"
For old time's sake,
Tom's like, "Nope, sorry."
Yeah, sorry about that, Tessie. Can't do that for you.
And Carlo getting his was probably the most satisfying thing, knowing that he betrayed Sonny, and then Clemens is in the back. He's hi, Carlo. And then chokes him out. The way his foot kicks through the window and. It just looks cool as hell. Cold. Michael is cold as hell.
It makes me wonder how hard it would be as a mafia hitman now with Ring doorbells everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. You couldn't off people that like you could back in the day. There's surveillance everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, the movie is awesome. He lies straight to Kay's face, but I think she knows and can see because there's, at the end, there's a bit of a shadow on her face and she sees everybody else, kissing his hand and he's the new Godfather. And it just ends. I mean, it leaves a lot of unanswered questions. I think that part 2 really does a good job in kind of sewing up and fleshing out, making better. And this, in Jamie, I was going to ask Jamie, do you watch Godfather with me? She's like, no, I don't need to see that. And I've seen it once or whatever. I don't really like it like you do. I'm like, I think this is a movie, and they even making fun of it in the Barbie movie. This is a man movie. This is a movie that guys love. I mean, there's just it speaks to us in a certain way. I mean, I love it. There's a lot of, I think maybe we as men take the wrong lessons from it because, at the end he pushes,
or maybe some of the right ones,
or some of the right ones. You can act like a man, or, you keep your enemies close, keep your families close, but your enemies closer, and never tell anybody what you're thinking outside the family again. They're just, there's so many life lessons, but ultimately in the end, to keep power, Michael pushes everybody away and winds up alone and, dying, in his garden or whatever, in order to maintain and achieve power and stuff. But it was pretty awesome. It's just like kind of like the Wolf of Wall Street taught lots of guys the wrong lesson, because I think, and kind of Goodfellas does the same thing, where it shows you how fucking awesome it is when it's really, really, things are going really, really well. And you focus on that. You don't focus on, the flushing the cocaine down the toilet and getting sent in the witness protection program.
When everything goes south.
When everything goes south, because they make the high times, the good times look amazing.
Well, you were talking about him dying alone in the garden, though. But I think that was, for me, and maybe it's just, the weird thing, like as a dad, like, could you, I'm like, obviously I don't want to croak off in front of my grandkids. Hopefully I have grandkids one day. Mm-hmm. I mean, with our boys, it's really hard to say, because like, you got to start talking to girls. You got to quit playing video games. But
here's your AI grandchild.
You gotta type in, hello, I am grandpa. Hello, grandpa. Would you please take me to the park? I would like to get an ice cream, grandpa. Will you help me? But just the fact he's there, he's older, he's run his course, his business, he's passed it on.
Yeah.
And he's there in his old age enjoying being with his grandchildren.
Yeah, for the Don, that is the best possible outcome for him. Playing with your grandkid in the garden and having a heart attack. Nobody coming for you and stuff like that. Where for Michael, and we're talking a little bit, we'll get into Godfather 2 and 3, it's him, suffering to keep power, and all the stuff, people that are around him die because of it. And then you're alone and stuff. But
yeah. Will you teach me how to fly a kite? I've been doing that impression a lot since the Epstein file.
Oh my God.
Has been coming out.
my Instagram Reels algorithm is just full of funny stuff.
They're going to have what on the island? I think I would like to go.
Once again, The Godfather, 2 hours and 55 minutes of awesomeness. I started choking.
You sound a little choked up.
2 hours and 55 minutes. It was so good. Amazing movie. It's one of my favorites. It's like, there's Conan and then there's Godfather. Sometimes one moves above the other or whatever. I don't know. It just depends. Both movies teaching valuable life lessons to dudes about, how to be a man.
Don't tell that one guy though.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, but it's awesome. I think, it goes Conan or The Godfather, Swift, The Thing, Halloween, it just RoboCop. There's just, there's other movies that are there, but I just like right off the top of my head, thinking about movies that I'll watch forever and ever. Godzilla movies, of course.
I gotta send out my Blade Swordsman DVDs to you. Mm-hmm. Once you see some of these Zatoichi films, I think you'll be a big fan too, because there's some in there as well. But you know what? On that list, because I agree with everything you've said right now, Godzilla -1.
Oh yeah, amazing.
That was so damn good.
Mm-hmm. supposedly coming out on DVD in February, and I'm definitely going to buy the Blu-ray or 4K or whatever.
I don't even own a player anymore.
Mm-hmm. I have two, one in the living room and one in the basement. But, yeah.
I didn't even know they made them. Well, so anyway, 2024, here we are.
Yes, we're going to do lots of variety of movies. We're doing some heavy hitters in January, The Godfather, Goodfellas, and then The Shining. Then we're going to do Fantasy February, do some fantasy type movies. Monster March is going to be giant monster movies, some Godzilla, some Eight-Legged Freak, some Lake Placid, some Deep Blue Sea, just a variety of monsters in nature run amok in March. I think April we should probably do some 80s back to school or 80s teen movies. We still have a few that we haven't done yet, and those always get a lot of listeners. I'm surprised whenever we do 16 Candles or The Breakfast Club or Fast Times at Ridgemont High. We get we pull a lot of listeners for those. So. But if you have any suggestions, send them to rvspodcast222@gmail.com. We are on Facebook and we are on Instagram. We'll soon be on is it Threads? What is that thing called now?
Yeah, it's called Threads.
Yeah, I've been looking at it more, Threads lately, and trying to wean myself off of Twitter. There is one three Twitter feeds that I really love. One is called Rare Insults, which is super, super hilarious. One is called Freezing Cold Takes, which is listening to sports pundits or other people say something is going to happen and the opposite always happens, and they just kind of show how stupid they are. I love that one. And Internet Hall of Fame is another one that those three threads feeds I kind of enjoy. But yeah.
Yeah, I created a Threads, but I did the retro video store. I'm not sure if you want to keep it like RVS podcast, like you have it on Instagram, or take a look, but just Twitter, man. I just
yeah,
yeah.
Well, thank you, everybody. We appreciate it. We're looking forward to 2024 and all the movies we're going to watch and have fun. And some of the movies will be great, some will be awful, but that's just that's life.
Well, and we'll have opinions about all of them.
Oh, exactly. Like we always
should we shoot, and maybe we'll shoot for another 50 films this year.
Yeah, shooting for them at least that much. So yeah.
God, if only we liked watching movies. I want everybody have a good week. You're good. Well, this will be after the first week, but for us, have a good first week of 2024.
Yeah. David might be back next week, so we'll see.
He might. He's out there getting that overtime, helping fight fires.
Mm-hmm. He's not banging cocktail waitresses two at a time, like Fredo.
Take care, everybody.
All right, talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Retro Video Store Podcast.